Sebastian Schweinsteiger opens up about his time at Manchester United and reveals quite a few interesting things that we definitely want to talk about. So welcome to the show, everyone. How are we all doing on this fine Thursday morning? Does anybody else have a bit more of a spring in their step for any sort of reason? Any reason you can think of at all? Anything? Why we'd be extra happy this morning? Some events may have taken place last night. What do we think? Something just a bit more. Yeah, I don't know what it was. Maybe some teams got knocked out last night. Maybe it's pity of me, or maybe it's a bit, spoiled of me, or whatever you want to call it, to sit here and say that I'm happy about Arsenal and Man City being knocked out of the Champions League. But I don't care. I will shamefully sit here with United sat in 6th or 7th place, wherever we are at the moment, and be like, happy days, mate. Buzzing when Madrid, when Rudiger scored the winning penalty, although I thought he would absolutely spoon that. Also buzzing that Kimmich scored that header as well. I mean, the kind of perfect story would have been Harry Kane scoring the winner. And then we can all have a party then. But, you can't always have it your own way. So, yeah, thank you to Villa and Bayern Munich. Arsenal season has completely collapsed in a week thanks to them teams. So, what a wonderful morning, eh? I read something about City saying that they should have an extra charge on them 115 for Bernardo Silva's penalty. I mean, I don't know what he was thinking there, but that was absolutely shocking. And we have stats coming out the woodwork now. Pep's only won one Champions League in 11 years since he's left Barcelona. Yeah, crazy, right? But this is a United fan channel. We're not here to talk about City and Arsenal, just to rub the wounds with a bit of salt in there as well. On today's show, we are going to discuss more important things. We're going to discuss Schweinsteiger's interview with Gary Neville. I think there's a couple of interesting quotes coming out from that. Will Kambwala get a new contract? Apparently, there's preliminary talks about that. Christian Eriksen is planning on leaving Manchester United. What clubs are interested in him? And there's a few other transfer bits towards the end of the show as well. So please do make sure you smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel. We are currently, let me just double check, on 4,777 subscribers. So we need 23 subs to get to 4,800. So if you can do that, whether you're watching live or watching later on, that would be absolutely amazing. Now, some of the Schweinsteiger quotes, very, very interesting, about, bits about Jose Mourinho, bits about John Murtaugh, bits about when he first arrived at the club. And to be honest, some of them are not surprising, because for United fans who know how this club is run and know how incompetent we are, and know how we treat certain players, this won't come as a shock to some people. But again, not everyone watching is a United fan, so these comments might be a little bit shocking. So the first quote that kind of stuck out there to me, it said, Bastian Schweinsteiger on Jose Mourinho. When I came back the first day, I came to Carrington and John Murtaugh was there, and he said, you're not allowed to walk into the dressing room. I said, why? He said that the coach said so. No warning whatsoever. And Gary Neville's reaction to this, he was listening to it, he was like, what? Why wasn't this made public at the time? Why didn't you say anything? And he's like, look, I'm not one of those ones who goes, crying to the media or whatever it was. I just cracked on, stayed humble. I was very sad with how I got treated, but I'm not this kind of person to run to the media to talk about it. I said to myself, do your job, train, maybe one day you'll get a chance. And what an absolute class act Schweinsteiger was. Even to this day now, you can see, when he speaks about United, he still loves the club. He still has this kind of affinity. Even though he got treated like absolute shit, he still loves the club, which is, you can kind of only applaud that in a sense, can't you? He said, I was training alone for at least 3 months. I don't know why, but I was still super happy at United and I love to wear the jersey. Someone could have told me or explained it to me. I went to the youth dressing room and asked who I was training with. He said, there's the under-16 teams. Under 16 teams, so I trained with them. Can you imagine that, being an under-16 player for United? Maybe one day hoping you'll make an appearance for the first senior team or whatever it was. And someone like Sebastian Schweinsteiger walks in to play with you. You're like, oh my Lord. This guy, the level, different level. He got asked about, actually, in comparison to Bayern Munich and Man United, and he said people were amazing, stadium, walking on the pitch, nothing better, facilities actually not as modern as I expected, to be honest. That's Schweinsteiger. Whichever way you kind of look at this, it's not a good look for United, because there's a few things in there where you're like, Jesus Christ, man, you know what I mean? But the facilities being the first one, he's not the only player to mention that, is it? And he's also not the only player to mention that he had a bad experience. Even Rio Ferdinand was talking about, when the way he got told that he had to leave the club, it was kind of like, he just got left with no kind of goodbye or anything like that. It was like, yeah, we're not going to renew your contract, kind of wash your hands and you're gone, mate. Treating legends of the game, absolute legends of the game. You look at someone like Sebastian Schweinsteiger's record, right? I was having a look at it before. So this is a player who's won a World Cup, a Champions League, 8 league titles, a Super Cup, a Europa League, 7 Pokals, FA Cup, League Cup, and other individual awards as well. And you're making him train with your under 16s. How crazy is that? Absolutely mad. Like, I get it sometimes if they've been a nuisance in the dressing room and they've been, one of those, it's just a bad apple and you want to get rid of him, you want to kind of demote him, which has happened at United before, then I understand it to that, to a certain extent. But Schweinsteiger is obviously a good egg. He's obviously, even if he wasn't playing every minute of every game, he can still do a role in that dressing room where his experience is hugely significant to some of the young players coming through. Look at the trophies I've just mentioned. The guy's won a World Cup, Champions Leagues, 8 league titles. Like, how are you demoting a guy to train with the under? It's crazy, absolutely crazy to me. A player of his caliber and prestige does not deserve that, and he clearly loved the football club. But yeah, I just thought it was funny how he mentioned things like the facilities, things about Murta telling him. Why is John Murta telling him that he needs to? You need to train with the under 16s, and why is the coach not going to him? This is more and more things coming out like why this club is in such a state that it is. We are run so badly from top to bottom, and obviously Ineos are looking at this at the minute and hopefully they'll sort it out, but it's just more and more evidence that you see here, listening to a player, and as a person as well, he seems like a genuine person. Like I said, he loves the club, and just treated like absolute shit. So I thought it was interesting hearing some of the comments coming out from Schweinsteiger, and what a player he was as well in his prime. Sebastian Schweinsteiger, let him cook. If we could have a prime Schweinsteiger in our midfield right now, I mean, to be fair, the system would probably expose him a little bit. But if we could have someone like him in his prime in the midfield, cooking, absolutely cooking. So, yeah, fair play to him being so honest, being so modest as well, because I think it's very easy to, kind of sit there and slag the club off and say, like, I was treated like shit, they didn't do this, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But he was still very humble and very, like I said, modest in the way he was kind of criticising the club, which kind of describes the man, how he is. He also mentioned Paul Pogba as well, saying he's one of the best midfielders he's ever seen when he has the right player surrounded by him. And also said about Marcus Rashford, saying if the balls got played to him on time, or the way if he got fed correctly, basically, he would supply a lot more. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that, because even when he does get through on goal, especially this season, he seems to have a bit of a panic button, or when he's running at 1v1, he just seems to get a little bit lost in his head. Last season, I absolutely agree with it. Like, everything he touched turned to gold almost. But this season, I don't know. I've seen him being supplied, not as much as he should be doing. He's also offside a lot. Like, he needs to learn to hold his run a little bit more. But I don't know if I would necessarily agree with that Rashford comment. But, the guy's trained with him. He's obviously seen bits that I haven't. So he's entitled to an opinion. But yeah, Sebastian Schweinsteiger kicked out of the dressing room, trained with the under 16s, complained about the facilities. Nothing new, is it? Nothing new to any United fan. So yeah, that was it on Schweinsteiger. I want to move on to Kambwala, because there is contract talks with him at the moment. I mean, they're not officially underway to extend Kambwala's contract, but they're expected to start soon. His current deal expires in June 2025, and Patrice Evra is a regular source of guidance and advice for Willy Kambwala. So obviously he's mentoring him and coaching him, which is always nice to hear as well, because he has experienced it as a defender at one of the biggest clubs in the world. So yeah, I just want to get your thoughts on his cameos as a community, as United fans or even opposition fans if you've watched him. What have you made of his cameos so far? Obviously struggled and was targeted at Bournemouth a little bit. I mean, the slip was just, it's going to happen. you can't criticize the player too much for that. It is going to happen with young players. They are going to make mistakes. That's what they learn from. You know, if they don't make mistakes, then what are they ever going to learn from? I don't think it's ever been a case where youngsters come into a team and never made a mistake. You know what I mean? So it happens. It happens. And people are more willing to be patient with that rather than a 30-year-old who keeps making the same mistakes after mistakes after mistakes. So, yeah, look, I thought he was fantastic against Liverpool. That was the cameo that maybe I over-egged a little bit when I watched after it. I was like, oh, wow, he's done really well there. You know, his battles with Núñez, you know, the recovery pace, the strength, the defensive awareness. On the ball, he was half-decent. Yeah, I had but like I said, you're going to have dips in performances, aren't you? He's not going to play like that every single game. But if he can show what he did against Liverpool on a regular, consistent basis, then we've got a player there. We've got a serious player. And would you put faith in him? Will he go back, you know, drop to the bench as soon as, you know, some of the senior centre-backs come back, like your Victor Lindelofs, obviously your Varans and Leaches, whenever they're back, which I have no idea. I don't know when, who, where. I don't know what centre-backs we got for this weekend. I'm guessing it's going to be Maguire and Kambwala again, but I don't know what's going on with Lindelof. Not sure when he's going to be back. I don't know when Lisandro Martinez is going to be back. Also, don't know when Varane's going to be back either. So maybe it'll just be the last cluster of games towards the end, and then we kind of head off for the summer or what have you. But yeah, the centre-back situation's been abysmal in it this season. You look at how many injuries we've had and how many different centre-back pairings we've had. It's a madness. You can't build any form of platform off that whatsoever. So I'm interested to see who starts this Sunday, but I'm guessing it's going to be Kambwala. I mean, when we did the Coventry preview yesterday, which please do go check out, by the way, because we had a Coventry fan on, and it was really interesting hearing his perspective on how they feel coming into this game and how they feel about United and you know, where he thinks he can win the game and things like that. So do check out that preview. It's on our YouTube channel if you're watching on TikTok. We did it yesterday. Really, really fun. But yeah, I kind of digress. I'm interested to see who starts. I also like his character as well. I think a lot of the issues with United in the past has been when they buy a player, it doesn't seem like they do background checks or enough on their kind of, you know, Fergie did it a lot, like, you know, are you married? What's your lifestyle like? What are you doing? These kind of things. Are you a dedicated individual? And it seems like Kambwala is, you know, he's extremely religious. Doesn't seem to you know, get overconfident or cocky or anything like that. Seems very humble, willing to learn. Only 19 years old, but he's a monster of like a physique, a big guy. So yeah, he's got potential. He looks good, but again, we're going off a small kind of sample size here, aren't we? It's not Kobbie Mainoo level or anything like that, but I think all things considered, I remember when he first came in against West Ham, he looked, you know, not amazing, but he just kind of got on with his job, wasn't troubled too much. But I said against Bournemouth, he's got a different kind of test. Coming up against Dominic Solanke, more physical, he'll run you ragged. Núñez is going to run the lines, he's going to try to get in behind you and make it tricky, and he dealt with that threat. But this is the Premier League, you know what I mean? Solanke's on 17, 18 goals, like he's in the run for the Golden Boot. He's a tough striker. So you're going to get all different kinds of tests, you know, if you're coming up against Erling Haaland or if you're coming up against a Gabriel Jesus, which is completely different. Like they have different kind of players for, you know, different tests, and that will come with experience. He'll build that within his years. So if you're asking me right now, would I look at a contract extension for Willy Kambwala? Absolutely. If it runs out in 2025, keep hold of him, because you could end up saving yourself, you know, 50, 60 million quid if he turns out to be the player he looks like he's going to be. So I would certainly keep hold of Kambwala. I like the look of him. I like his character. And I think he can only improve, which can only be good for United. And the whole kind of theme of youngsters, the players that we're bringing through, your Garnachos, your Cobbies, Rasmus, only 21 years old. Ahmad's only like 21. Kambwala, you know, even Dalot was like 23, I think, or something like that. So you've got a lot of young players, and Erik ten Hag always references this in his press conferences. He says, you know, the future is bright for United. I can see the other side of it. And maybe it is. But yeah, we certainly have some talented youngsters, and including the academy as well. I mean, we discussed that in depth a couple of days ago about the under-18s winning the North Division with a win over Wolves. We've had players on the bench like Ogbiene, and we've had Harry Amas on the bench as well. He was like 16, 17. A lot of young, bright, talented players, which I'm excited to see how they get on. Not everyone makes it, not everyone becomes a star, but we've certainly got a good pool to pick from. So, yeah, I like the look of the youth setup at the minute and the players that are coming through. Likewise, when you flip that on its head, we have a story on Christian Eriksen, who's at the kind of twilight of his career at the minute. He's apparently looking to move on. So obviously with just 3 appearances in 2024, it's safe to say Eriksen's not been a key part of United's, kind of the way we're playing at the moment. He's unsettled, lack of inclusion, and with the contract expiring in 2025, he may be considering a transfer this summer. Galatasaray are very interested, and it could be a very easy transfer to do. A weird one with Eriksen, because when he first came in, on a free, by the way, which was an astute signing in my opinion, he gave us that control, that calmness, ability to pick out a pass, creative. He unlocked Bruno Fernandes as well and took that creative burden off him. And it worked. It worked really well. But then I remember specifically a game against Man City where we got battered and there was loads of runners off him. He was just kept, every time they got a slight bit of a transition or picked up the ball in the half turn, he just couldn't keep up with the pace of the play. He was struggling a lot. And ever since then, it was really exposed and teams were targeting him every time they played us. Physically, especially in this type of team where it's frantic, chaotic, energetic as it is anyway, if that's what you want to call it, he does not suit that whatsoever. Now, you could put him in a team in Spain, someone like a Valencia, where it's, let's say, more possession-based, and he'll probably find his feet and his flourish a bit more, similar to like a Juan Mata kind of player. Or even sending him back to Brentford, he'd probably be an important player for them. But what United need right now, we need physical specimens in this team, and Christian Eriksen is the complete opposite. I love his footballing brain. I love his creativity. I think even though he doesn't suit what we want to do, he probably should have still got more minutes. Like when you look into the bench for a creative burden, I don't know why Bruno hasn't been dropped at times for like an Eriksen or a Mason Mount. But even other players, like I don't know why they haven't been dropped. Something like a Casemiro, or maybe drop Mainu a little bit deeper. But look, it's getting to that point now. Same thing happened with Juan Mata. Fantastic bloke. Never caused problems or anything like that. Relatively quiet. But when it comes to a footballing brain, brilliance. Utter brilliant, and technique as well. That's why I say it's similar to like Juan Mata in that sense. But it's time to go, innit? It's time for him to go. I won't have any kind of, I won't be fawning over him leaving and crying and saying, no, please don't go. I think it's about right, innit? It's Sam saying not playing Eriksen as a 10 when Bruno's stinking up the game is disgraceful from Ten Hag. That's what I'm saying. Like, he definitely deserved more opportunities. I just think the way Ten Hag, and again, I'll say wants to counter press, and wants how hard working his players are. I don't think Eriksen offers that, so I think that's why he tends to go for the latter, for Bruno Fernandes. But I would have liked to see Mount there as well. I don't get why he never plays Mason Mount there. Very, very strange and bizarre to me. Mason Mount, fresh legs alongside Amad Diallo to start. I'm guessing Lucky Singh's referring to the weekend. Potentially, I don't know. Ten Hag's very stubborn when it comes to a starting 11 and predictions and sticking with players even though they're playing really bad. Your Casemiros, your Rashfords, all these kind of guys. So I'm not expecting any kind of surprise set up in this team for the weekend. So Jim Ratcliffe will attend United's FA Cup semi-final against Coventry after completing the London Marathon on Sunday. How old is Jim Ratcliffe, by the way? Vincent Bullock, you going Sunday, pal? Nope, try getting tickets. Couldn't get tickets. So I will be live on the channel if you guys want to come and join me. I may even do a watch along as well if enough people want to come and join me for that. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you'd be up for that. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about that game. I'm just happy this morning because City and Arsenal lost and they're both out of the Champions League. City can't do back-to-back trebles, and Arteta's run down much like his eyebrow makeup that he wears. So I'm happy that they've been knocked out. People say you're shameful, you're disgraceful, whatever. I don't give a shit, man. You're telling me Arsenal fans and City fans won't be saying the exact same thing if we got knocked out in a similar position. So shameless that I'll say it. I don't give a fuck. Ratcliffe is 71. Wow. Insane, innit? He is going to age with time, much like the managers we've had at the club. You look at Ole before and after, before he joined the club. You look at Jose Mourinho before and after. Even Erik ten Hag now, like, they age with the weight of the job. And I think Sir Jim Ratcliffe is going to age a good few years. Trying to organise this chaos. So, yeah. But 71, it looks good for 71, in fairness to him, doesn't it? Fair play to him. I hope we do manage to get through on Sunday. I'm not sure I have any faith. I mean, watching that City game last night, if City get through to the final, we're done for, mate. Even Chelsea, like, look at the way we played against Chelsea, man. We were shit. But watching City against Madrid, I mean, City absolutely dominated them. There's no two ways about it. And Real Madrid have players like Bellingham, Vinicius, Valverde, Rudiger. Bringing players on like Modric, who still at 38 is just a phenomenal talent. Toni Kroos. Like, look at the players they have, and City plastered him. Absolutely plastered him. Just was suffocating him. They couldn't get out of the press. They had a couple of times where they escaped it, but then Kyle Walker and players like that just dealt with it appropriately. They deserve to win that game. That's the first thing I'd say. They deserve to win that game. They battered Madrid, but Madrid somehow always find a way. They always find a way to get it done. And they've done it multiple times before when they look like they're under the cosh and it's coming against them. It's just what Madrid do. It's just what they do. Beanie says, am I right in thinking if United and City get to the final, United qualify for Europe? I don't know. I'll have to look into that. Yeah, you probably know more than me on that. I'm not sure. I thought that I know 5th place now is gone in the league because Arsenal and City are both out, and obviously Liverpool are out of the Europa League as well. Which, you know what, when you think about that, the likelihood of that happening, I mean, Liverpool may bring it back. And maybe famous last words, Liverpool might bring it back against Atalanta. But if Liverpool, Arsenal, and City all to go out at the same time, like, that is, do you know what I mean? It's rare, very rare. City didn't deserve to win. They were terrible in front of goal. No, but everything up until I didn't think it was terrible. You look at the majority of the play, they was all over Madrid. You can't tell me they didn't deserve to win that game. And I'm a United fan, and I'm saying that. Last night, that was Man City's best squad. The Premier League is theirs now. Yeah, they probably weren't going to win the double, aren't they? To be honest. Haaland is another interesting topic. What do we all think about Haaland? I'm glad you mentioned that, Bina. What do we think about Erling Haaland? Because there's been a lot of criticism. You had obviously Roy Keane coming out saying his overall game's like a League 2 player, but in front of the net, he's one of the best in the world. Is Haaland overhyped? Is he just a good finisher and that's it, nothing more? Slicker says 33 shots from 1 goal. They can be all over a team as much as they like, but it's goals that count. Yeah. Obviously, that's the hard bit, putting it in the back of the net. I agree. I just meant more in terms of like the overall game. They were the better team. And don't forget, Madrid only put 1 past them as well, so it was 1-1, and they won on penalties. Haaland doesn't suit City like Aguero did. Yeah, I get that. He's also had to change his game as well. At Dortmund, he was more of a transitional player. I think Haaland would probably be good for us, to be honest. I know in terms of our wingers don't provide, so in that sense it wouldn't be. But I'm talking like a pure transition game. Him in behind, he was a monster at Dortmund when I was watching him. Now it's more kind of, you're a box striker. Don't worry, you'll get the service and you'll finish. And look, he won the treble last year and broke the record for the most goals in the Premier League. That's unheard of. So obviously finishing ability, best in the world. No one was discussing this last season, but his hold-up play, at times his touch is way off. Technique sometimes is questionable. Yeah, I don't know. He's a bit of an odd player, innit? Kane would have been a much better signing for City. I definitely agree with that. 100% I agree with that. So Eriksen, Martial, Heaton to leave on a free, and possibly Varane and Casemiro, says SPTV. Yeah, I think so. I think we had James from the Muppeteers on the channel, I think it was about a month ago now, who's very good when it comes to Ineos and transfer news. He's top tier. Like, he knows his shit. And when we had him on the channel, he said in like January, I think even before that, Casemiro's gone. And we were so surprised. We was like, what? Because he's got a long contract. He's only been here 2 seasons. He was like, yeah, Casemiro's gone, probably to Saudi in the summer. Varane obviously looks like he's going to go as well. Which is probably, I would say it's probably the right decision, depending on who you bring in. You know, if you're going to get rid of Varane, experience, you're going to get rid of Casemiro, experience, 5 Champions Leagues each, World Cup with Varane, like, you get rid of that experience, you need to fill it with something, you know what I mean? Otherwise, you've got Maguire's experience of winning a League Cup, like, you know what I'm saying? So, I think Varane and Casemiro will go. Eriksen will definitely go. Anthony Martial will definitely go. But all these players need to. The only one I would probably keep hold of was Varane or something. But it all depends on the contract because obviously he's on 300,000. I don't think he's going to drop it significantly. I think United were willing to offer him a contract if it's, a certain length. But yeah, I think the majority of them going. Zoe's Media House is in the house. Hello, how are you doing? I hope you're well. Thank you for joining us. Good afternoon. Have you got a spring in your step as well after Arsenal and City went out last night? Let me know. Charlie Malman's in the chat as well. Says, sounds like Romano has said Erik Ten Hag's job is safe. I've seen that, and I've seen that from Laurie Whitwell as well. Don't forget Laurie Whitwell, who we've also had on the channel, by the way, came out last week, I think it was, with an article saying Ineos are probably going to stick with Ten Hag. So Whitwell and Romano saying similar things is, they are tier ones when it comes to United. Tier ones. So I wouldn't ignore that. I'd missed Varane, but that concussion statement made me feel it's the right choice. Yeah. He struggled with injuries, and he Varane. But when he's been fit and available, he's been one of the better centre-backs in the league. And when you're talking pure defender in the box, he's amazing. He's really, really good. Ten Hag isn't safe. They're already working in the background for new managers. I don't know if I believe that. I mean, in fact, I take that back. I do believe it because any normal club or anyone with a plan should have a contingency plan. If we really fall off the rails, we get beat off Coventry, we start really dropping down the table, obviously you're going to need to get rid of him. I think you should probably get a new manager anyway, given how we're playing and how the performances are. But, I mean, especially if he loses on Sunday, I think there's no hiding. You're definitely done. And I think you'll start to see the cogs moving very fast on that situation. There's a kid for Benfica called João Neves. Yeah, I've seen him. Him and Mainu and pivot for United would be unreal. Absolutely agree with that. I don't trust Fabrizio when it comes to managers. He's only trustworthy for players. I don't know. No, I won't. I disagree with that. I hope to see a lot of positive changes this summer. It's been a long 10, 11 years. Yeah, you can tell you're a United fan. It's been a long time. Oh, it's been awful, hasn't it? It has been awful. Every time we get our hopes up, we have this second manager syndrome season thing. I said that in the complete wrong order, but you all know what I'm on about. They have a really good first season, second season, everything goes to shit. Happens all the time, but I'm hoping Ineos coming in, and this is hope because it's not guaranteed that Ineos are going to get everything spot on. But the people that they brought in, Omar Barada, Dan Ashworth, and Jason Wilcox, it looks like it's going to be. That is a far more superior structure than Richard Arnold and John Murta and guys like this. So it looks promising from that aspect. But again, it's not always guaranteed, is it, in that sense? So, yeah. Fabrizio only speaks on managers after it's confirmed by others first. The point I'm making is, he has really good connections, with agencies. Like, for example, Erik Ten Hag's agency, I believe, is the same as Rasmus Højlund's, I think. I can't remember what it's called, but I'm saying he has good contacts within that. So if anything's going on with Erik Ten Hag, I would suggest he probably knows a decent amount. But again, it might be opposite on the Ineos side, or do you know what I mean? So yeah, I just know from that side he has good connections. Southgate coming in after the Euros to save us. Save being the absolute wrong word. Gareth Southgate is just no. I mean, I don't have to do a full monologue about Southgate. Everyone knows how I feel about him. Everyone knows how the channel feels about him. Everyone knows how the fan base feel about him. Like, you can't sell that. Maybe it's a lot more sellable if he wins the Euros with England, but then maybe he'll want to stay. I don't know. I certainly don't want him anywhere near the club. I think he's almost the opposite to Ten Hag. He's too pragmatic in that sense. Like, he doesn't go for it with the players at his disposal. I was saying this yesterday. You look at some of the talents England has at the minute. Kobbie Mainoo, Declan Rice, Jude Bellingham, Foden, Harry Kane, Saka, even though he fucked up last night. Like, you should be expansive and dominating teams with them kind of players. And he lives off, like, moments or set pieces or, Do you know what I mean? It's baffling to me, the football that he plays with the talent that he has. It's crazy. It's one of them situations where Ten Hag probably hasn't been told he's out yet, but he's defo gone. Maybe. You could be right. I don't know. I don't have any insight into that, to be fair. Anyway, it does sound like there will be a massive clear out. I'm not sure what massive means, 10 players, 20, 30. But it seems like we have a massive clear out every summer. Do you remember when Ten Hag first came in? Didn't we get rid of, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't Pogba, Cavani, Mata, Lingard, Matic. Who else was there? There's a couple more as well. I may be wrong on a couple of them, but I'm sure we had loads of players go, like 10 players go then. Pereira was another one as well. And I'm sure there was a few more. And I was sat here saying we need to get rid of another 10. Oh, God. Our recruitment's awful, innit? Awful. I think we spent over £1 billion. And you look at our team, Elanga, yeah, Chris, great shout with another one. 22 players were sold or loaned out last summer. Madness. I mean, they really need to improve the recruitment side of things significantly, because we've been terrible, absolutely terrible with the money spent and the team we have at our disposal at the minute. But yeah, it should be game day soon. Are we on Thursday today? I don't even know what day it is. 18th of April. Yeah, Thursday. So we've got 3 full days, until we play Coventry on Sunday. I'm excited. I hope we get through to the final. And then I would like to say the final is anyone's game. But it depends who we get. I think, actually, it'd be more of an exciting final if Chelsea go through. I think that would be very end-to-end. I think it would be more interesting. And I would prefer it as well, obviously. If City get through to the final, it's one of them where I'm like, you've kind of got PTSD from last season when we got beat by him in the final. So I'm like, I don't want that again. But at the same time, they don't have players like Gundogan. They don't have players like Riyad Mahrez. You know, things like that. Ones who can just kind of get goals from anywhere. So maybe it would be a different game, but I certainly wouldn't be expecting us to win it with the way we've been playing this season. I would definitely prefer Chelsea. BSR says, City win the league again, or do you reckon there's a twist to come? No, I think it's theirs. I think Arsenal and Liverpool have to win every game now and don't slip up until the end of the season. And I'm looking at some of Arsenal's fixtures. Arsenal have still got to play the North London derby, I think. They've still got to play United at home, which is our last home game. And then I'm not sure about Liverpool's running, but I know they've got a couple of tricky games as well. So I just can't see them winning every game now until the end and City slipping up, especially after City going out of the Champions League now. Like that, I think they'll turn the heat up even more. And I think they'll definitely win the league. I think they'll do the double, to be honest. Vince says, I will type it. Was Chelsea's after all. We've got paid back to give them for 2018. Yeah, it's an interesting narrative, whichever way you look at it. But we've got to get past Coventry first. It's not a given we're going to beat them. I mean, Newport can't give us a fucking game, didn't they? They scored 2 goals against us. We've struggled against the likes of Luton and Bournemouth, and we only scraped past Sheffield 2-1 early on in the season. Do you know what I mean? So it's not a given. Coventry at 8th in the Championship, still competitive. So yeah, I would employ people to go and check the preview we did yesterday with a Coventry fan. It was very interesting to hear his side of things and how he feels going into this game. Also, he speaks on Victor Gyökeres, is it? Swedish striker who I didn't even know played for Coventry before he made his move to Sporting. So if anyone wants kind of real in-depth knowledge about him as a striker and how he is, he talks about him as well, because obviously he watched him live in the flesh for Coventry. So yeah, make sure you do go check that preview out. Really, really interesting. We're going to be live again later on at 7 o'clock. As always, live every single day, 12 and 7 o'clock, with previews, tactical analysis, pros and cons, live pre-match build-up, post-match analysis, all that good stuff. So, as always, please do hit that subscribe button. We are on 4,778 subs, so we're 22 off 4,800. So if anyone wants to click the link in the description in TikTok and come and join this community, it would be forever grateful. But apart from that, enjoy the rest of your day, people, and I'll